Good afternoon. Call into order the Board of Education Special Board Meeting Friday, June 2nd, 2023. Are there any requests to speak on public? Okay, no requests to speak. Translation, if you want to give us a language translation.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. We have interpretation available in order to provide language access, so we can access the interpretation here in the boardroom or on the Zoom application and on YouTube. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hearing no requests from the public to speak, we are now adjourned to closed session. Good afternoon again. We returned from closed sessions and there's no action to report. Now return us to regular session of our regular June 2nd Board of Education Special Board meeting. And let's see, we're going to have language. We're going to pledge allegiance. Okay, just didn't see it on here, but to make sure. So we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. You could go.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I know where I was. I was looking for a sign language and she's already talked about that. So that moves us to our action agenda. E1, approval of additional 2% of unilateral raise on classified, confidential, certificated non-management and management salary schedules for July 1st, 2023. Okay.
Good afternoon, Board Trustees. Today, I'm pleased to bring you the culmination of work by our Assistant Superintendents of Fiscal and Human Resource Departments. Our employees have expressed a need for increases due to rising inflation, housing costs, and healthcare costs. We face a challenge in meeting this need while at the same time ensuring adherence to our current 3-year contracts and doing this during the busy budget development season. However, Kim and her team went ahead and did this work with us. And the task that they were given was to look into the use of general funds and one-time funds allocated in this year's budget, which, as you know, was approved in June of 2022. You will hear more from Kim about how they achieved this. I am grateful to Joyce Adrianson, President of SBTA, and Ken Rivas, President of CSEA, for working with us to find a way for us to give when we can, as the board has expressed to me a desire to both balance the budget and ensure employee wellness. I will now turn it over to Kim.
Good afternoon, board members. First, I want to thank you for allowing us to have this special meeting today. You're all busy folks. It's a busy time of the year, and I'm very grateful that we're allowed to do this. And I'm here to answer any questions and also to put your mind at ease as we look at this unprecedented path to be able to give our employees more money as a bridge to the successor contract. It is my job and the superintendent's job and your job to make sure that our budget is healthy and that we're able to pay for all the things that we do to educate students. We have a really strong fiscal team that includes 6 budget managers here in the district office, as well as all of the budget managers at the school sites in all of the offices that we have. Everyone is working on their own individual budgets as part of the larger budget as a whole. But I want you to know, for this exercise, we really expanded our team. We brought in some of the top level experts in the state of California. We worked with School Services of California, which is the premier school business advisors in the state, and FCMAT, which is the Fiscal Crisis Management Assistance Team, also weighed in as well to ensure that we could do this. School Services of California looked at our second interim budget because we're still working on adopted for next year, and we're in the middle of that process. Actually, further than the middle, but we're getting it done. And they wanted to help us really do a deep dive into our budget to see if we could actually be able to provide additional funding. And they helped to clarify which funds that we would be able to use to do this. We did a lot of work in the current year and worked also on our assumptions going forward for the next couple years. I'm just going to give you a couple examples of some of the things that we looked at. So school services suggested that we could move some of the items out of our operating budget that actually are larger in this current year due to COVID. And a couple of the examples that I'll give you is our Big Green contract. We have a contract that is custodial services that helps at the school sites. And in a normal year, that contract is less than $100,000, $75,000 about. This year, we're looking at it close to $600,000. And why did it grow? It grew because of several different things. One, we're still in the process of cleaning up because of COVID and making sure that our classrooms are safe. But also the other impact of COVID is that there's such a shortage in staff. And so when we have custodial staff that we have holes, we have vacancies, we have people that have to go out just for vacations and normal things, we don't have a lot of people in the wings to fill those spots just because of COVID really hit us in our staffing areas in a lot of cases. So our Big Green contract really grew. And that is a direct result of COVID. So that contract that is normally sitting in our operating budget for this current year, we were advised to go ahead and use our one-time COVID funds to help pay for the increase, which we did. We also have increases for our utility costs. I've come to you a couple times and told you about the massive increases that we have seen in utility costs, same kind of increases that everybody's feeling in their homes. But part of the increase is also due to COVID. We have had lots of things running to help keep our classrooms clean, like air filters. We have sometimes have doors and windows open to also keep the classroom safe. And at that time, you're using up a lot of energy that normally we wouldn't. So we took some of those utility costs, some of the growth that is directly related to COVID, we moved those over to one-time funds. In this process, we also had something happen that was very unusual for our budget. In the middle of the year, we had an increase in our unduplicated count students, which means that our LCAP costs grew tremendously. But one of the things is LCAP is actually sitting in our general fund, because we receive property tax money and it covers LCAP and regular operating costs. So that was one of the questions that I asked school services while I had them, is what do we do about that? How do you manage a budget when in the middle of the year your LCAP costs grow by $8 million? What do we do? So one of the suggestions that they gave us was to take the lower class sizes. We have additional teachers right now due to that we've had because of COVID, and we've had the lower class sizes, to take those teachers that we have been paying for with the one-time funds and actually put them into our LCAP funds. So we did that as well to actually help us spend those LCAP funds and help us to reach the goals that we have established in LCAP. So there was a lot of things that we moved around and really took a really good look at. And the last one that was a kind of a big ticket item is special education. Special education, the costs that we estimate throughout the year generally are much higher at the beginning of the year, partially because the costs that we pay to SELPA typically are higher at the beginning of the year than they are at the end of the year. Plus, we have different funds that we set aside for special education that we may or may not use, but we have to have them. So school services looked at that and historically how much we did that swing from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And it's typically about a $2 million swing. So since we're here at the end of the year, we went ahead and adjusted for the more current actual costs in our budget. So doing all of that, with these changes, school services did recommend that if we were able to do this, that we could give an additional 2% for next year, bringing the on schedule increase to 4% total for next school year. And you may the recommendation was to not go any higher than that 2%, 4% total. Because again, we typically receive about 5% increase from year to year in our property taxes. School services did look at that and did agree that 5% seemed reasonable to estimate for next year. But we also contacted our tax assessor to see what they thought about next year. And the thing about property taxes is we don't even really know what they're going to be for the current year until we get to the end of the year. So there's always a little bit of uncertainty there. But based on what the tax assessor's assessment was, that we could be really feel pretty comfortable with the 5% that we typically do. So school services advise us not to go higher than 4, because then we're hitting close to that range of uncertainty of, is it really going to be 5 or is it going to be less? So that's, we stuck with the 2%. So a total of 4 for next year. So now can we take a look at the multi-year projection? Can you guys pull that up? You can start with the one that's the unrestricted. Thank you. Oh, and I don't have my clicker, so I'm going to have to say next slide. Yeah. No, it's just yeah, that's fine. That's fine right there. Thank you. Yep, that's it. Okay, so what this is every time we do a budget, we do a multi-year projection, and we're looking at the unrestricted side of our budget, the side that has our regular operating expenditures. And this is now, we brought a multi-year projection to you for second interim. This is now second interim, adjusted with all the things that school services advised us to do, with the addition of the 4% into the next 23-24 school year. So we are still showing a little bit of a deficit spending in the current year, but that has decreased from over $7 million. And again, it's an estimate. We don't have our actuals yet. We'll see where we actually come in. And then for the 23-24 school year, it's really a very small deficit. So that was, we really cleaned that up. And then the future years, there is no deficit. If you look down at the bottom of the slide, it shows the total unrestricted reserves for the current year. Based on if these numbers are actually the way we end up with actuals, it's a 13.6.3% down there at the bottom, line 27, a little bit further down. So there you go, 13.6.3% for the current year. And then the next year, 23-24, where we have already added the 4% increase, it's 14.16%. And then it goes to a little over 15 and then up to 19.98% in the subsequent 2 years. Again, in those subsequent 2 years, the 24-25 and 25-26, that is where we will open our successor contract. So what we're doing here is just trying to get a bridge to that. And we feel very comfortable with these numbers. Would you mind showing the next slide too? The next one is the combination of our unrestricted and our restricted budget. Now, the restricted budget is, it's restricted because it's programs that have very strong guidelines on what we can do with that money. There we go. There you go, unrestricted and restricted. So, so some things that are in our restricted budget would be our one-time funds are there. Our special ed is there. So there tends to be a little bit of deficit spending in some of our funds for special ed, for one, because we always have a contribution from the general fund to special ed. So the fact that there's a little bit of deficit spending there is not as worrisome. I've had some questions about where we can give salary increases. We don't give salary increases from the restricted side of the budget. It's restricted. There are rules around what we can do with that money, and giving salary increases is not that. But we can do it on the first one that I showed you, the unrestricted side. That's where we look to see if there's money available to do that. So, so that's pretty much it. We'll go on to the should I go on to the next part, the second part? Okay, we'll stop right there. I'll give it back to our superintendent.
So I'll bring thank you. Thank you so much to Kim and her team. As you can see, there's a lot of work that we're doing while also finishing up the budget for this year and bringing you a new budget for next year. I'm going to bring up Dr. Becchio now to give you the approval, the action that we're asking you to approve today.
Good afternoon, Board President Sims-Moton, board members. So as you see on action item E1, we are seeking the approval of an additional 2% unilateral raise on classified, confidential, certificated non-management and management salary schedules. In the attachment that we included, you will see all the exhibits. Those are all the exhibits in our teacher contract, because we just have a lot of salary schedules in there. So that is the ask for the board. We're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any requests to speak on this item, Ms. Alvarez?
Yes, we have two speakers. The first one, Mr. Rivas, please come up. Second one, Ms. Adrianson, right after Mr. Rivas. Please begin.
There it is. It's not like you probably couldn't hear me already. But anyhow, this is great. First up, I don't remember when I was the first at anything, but so it's going to be the first one up today. Anyhow, I do want to thank the district, Dr. Maldonado's team for putting this together in a very timely fashion. We worked diligently with your team, and so I thank you for that. And so I want to say that on behalf of CSCA, we certainly support and appreciate the work that's gone into this. And so thank you, board members.
Thank you. Ms. Adrianson, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Maldonado, board members, and Mike's off again. Oh, it's on. Okay. Feels really weird to say good afternoon because you should say good evening to you. I do want to thank everyone for working so hard on this. And I want to thank you for hearing the needs of Santa Barbara Unified School District staff and working with us to find a way to increase salaries while still adhering to our agreements. This extra 2% and the $1,000 stipend is a start in the right direction to help ease the financial burdens of all of our staff. So, board members, I would really like to urge you to approve this proposal. It's definitely a step in the right direction.
Thank you. No more speakers.
Okay. Okay, board members, thank you for the presentation, staff, and thank you for the public comments. So board members' comments and or questions? Ms. Alvarez.
First of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you, Dr. Maldonado. Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. Thank you, Dr. Becchio and Ms. Hernandez, all of your team members, Lacey and everyone else. This is an extremely labor intensive report that we have in front of us, even though it's a one pager. It's really hard to come to that one pager that reflects everything. So thank you for all your work. And one comment that I mentioned to my colleagues here is I'm very proud of us today. I'm very proud of our team, our district staff, of our team as board members, because this was a challenge before us that we've been talking for a long time. We can't tell you we've been talking for a long time, but now we can. And it was one of our values. This is very important to us. We wanted to do something to help ease that burden. We hear you. And that's something we did not know until the due diligence that was explained so eloquently by Ms. Hernandez was completed. One of the big charges of the board is to exercise fiscal responsibility and to make sure that the district is solvent. And that's a big challenge because we hear the emotion, we hear the need. And at the same time, we have to balance that with sustainability. And I believe that today we have achieved that. So thank you. Thank you, Ms. Adrianson. Thank you, Mr. Rivas. Thank you to all your members, our staff, because we care for them. We care. And yes, it's a step in the right direction. So thank you.
Additional comments, board members? Ms. Muniz?
Yes, thank you, certainly Mr. Rivas and Ms. Adrianson for being here. I appreciate the efforts of all in evaluating the budget and providing the information regarding a unilateral raise for our staff. It is important to me as a board member to be equitable as a district and at the same time to responsibly decide on a raise in salary as well as a one-time bonus. My decision is based on the information that we have in terms of the funds that the district is expected to receive, as Ms. Hernandez just explained. So thank you. And I certainly am in favor of the raise and so forth. Thank you.
Okay. Additional comments? Mr. Escobedo.
I also just want to express my gratitude. I know how much work has gone into this on all sides, and it is a really difficult topic because we know that the cost of living, particularly here in Santa Barbara, is very high and becoming more and more difficult to meet the cost of living for our staff and for many here in the city of Santa Barbara. I was so impressed by the level of true care that I experienced from our cabinet staff, Ms. Hernandez, Dr. Becchio, Dr. Maldonado, and others about truly understanding the humanity in this topic and what it actually means. And yes, this is a step in the right direction. And yes, we know there's more that needs to be done, but I can tell you that a lot of work was put in, and I just wanted to express my gratitude. I want to express my gratitude to both of our labor partners and say that we are definitely looking forward to getting to our successor negotiations. And I just want to thank you all for what is a big achievement and a whole lot of work put in. And I wanted to recognize that. So thank you so much.
Mr. Banning.
I'll echo what's already been said and not repeat it, but I did want to say that as a former superintendent, I knew my budget backwards and forwards. Coming in January, I didn't have that opportunity. And one of the things that all of this difficult work has done for me is provided a window in and to learn more about the exactly what the fiscal standing of the district is. And the work that was done not only represented confidence, or gave me confidence in the staff and the people that are working with the labor partners and negotiating and budget, but the work of the outside agencies who are highly respected to come in and find the same thing. For me, in these early days on the board, this is an opportunity to increase trust and appreciation for the people in the room. And I'm talking about the people in the room from the cabinet, from labor, and to acknowledge the passion of the teachers that have been here and expressed it. And I agree, it's a step in the right direction, and hopefully we keep moving in that right direction. But thank you very much.
Thank you. And I will echo what my board members have said. Thank you. Thank you for all that have been involved. And we talk about the bridge to the successor agreements. You know, sometimes you're on a bridge and it's swinging, right? Because there's nothing under there. But there's been a lot of work and foundation upon this bridge that we're building across to that successor contract, and know just the work, the amount of work and compassion and emotion that went into the work is done. And I appreciate what you were saying about the team. You expand the team to make sure everybody's voice and perspective was a part of what was going on. Oftentimes, things that are being impacting us most closely, we don't necessarily know the details. So I appreciate the work to involve folks, and I appreciate our labor partners in doing so. And lastly, I'll just say that I think this process really was for the good of all. So everybody have an opportunity to see that we heard, we acknowledged, and we put the work in the necessary to get to this point. So again, thank you all for your work, and that when we continue to cross that bridge, it won't be swinging, we'll be steady across the way. So with that, board members, maybe have a motion to approve. I will take it in two parts so that Ms. Alvarez can recuse herself from the management. So motion to approve an additional 2% unilateral raise on classified confidential certificated non-management for July 1, 2023.
So moved. And thank you for all the calculations. Thank you very much.
Second.
They were saying that you didn't have to, but I know you're doing it for perception.
I preferred to do that.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. So with that, that has been approved and second. All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
And the second part of that motion to approve an additional 2% unilateral raise on the management salary schedules. May I have a motion?
So move.
Okay, Ms. Munoz,
Second.
Mr. Banning. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry.
And I recuse myself.
Thank you. Motion pass. This motion passes. Thank you. We'll move to our next number 2. Or you have, okay. Right.
Okay, board members, action item E2 is the approval of a unilateral one-time off-schedule $1,000 payment to all regular classified certificated non-management, management, confidential, non-represented hourly, and substitutes. You will see that we outlined how this would be carried out. It would capture those regular employees on September 1st. And we would begin to issue payment. Hopefully we'll schedule that to be mid-September. And then for our hourly and subs, we did want you to consider including them, but we wanted to do a similar package as last year where we looked at the amount of hours and at least had a minimum of, I think it ends up being about 15 hours a week. That if that's the regular 15 hours a week of hourly or substitute positions, that in December we would issue the $1,000 to those employees. So that is how we captured that $1,000 one-time payment as the proposals before you. And if you have questions, we're happy to take those at this time.
Okay, I believe we have
Oh,
some.
and I think we just Kim wanted to say one thing.
Okay.
This extra $1,000 was really important to us because we see stipends in that way as being very equitable for our lower paid employees where their base pay is lower. So the percentage increase everyone gets, but the additional $1,000 really also helps to give cash in hand to our employees who actually the percentage increase doesn't affect them as much as the higher level. So in this case, if we do $1,000 and the percentage increase, it really is very equitable across all of our employees. And we're really excited to be able to do that with our one-time funds.
To request to speak on this item?
We have 2 speakers, Mr. Rivas, please, and Mr. Adrianson right after that. Please begin.
Okay, again, I'm here on behalf of CSCA Chapter 37. And again, I want to thank all the work that went into this. And I'd just like to say that we would like your support on this. So thank you.
I second what Ken just said. I think I kind of included it in my first, the first time I spoke. I think this $1,000 is very equitable across the board, and our lower level people, it does affect them more, as Kim said. So thank you. I urge you to again approve this one.
Thank you. No more comments.
Okay. Board members' comments or questions? Ms. Alvarez?
Oh, well, once again, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Hernandez. And I think it was Dr. Becky also for the explanation, the summary here, that this will be the third of the stipends that we were able to do this 22-23 school year with our one-time monies that we received. So thank you for doing that.
Ms. Munoz?
Yes, just wanting to express my appreciation and include Dr. Becchio, who spent, time explaining to us as the board as to how this would benefit all employees, and Ms. Hernandez and our superintendent. Thank you so much. and I'm glad it's agreeable to all involved. Thanks.
Mr. Escobedo.
Thank you. Just one question, and I don't want to give off that I have any issue with it, but I just want to understand the substitute part again. So average of 15 hours a week, it'll be issued in December. Let's say we have a substitute teacher that leaves us before that date. Do they still get issued a stipend, or where's the threshold for deciding?
Yeah, so if you notice, I believe that we did put a caveat in there that they do need to be employed with us on December 1st. I can't find it right now, but I believe it's in there.
Oh, yes, I do see it.
Yeah, is it there? Sorry, I'm having
Yeah.
a hard time finding it, but
Yeah, 2C from August 21st, 23 to November 30th, 23.
yeah. Oh, but sorry, D is where I was looking for, and it's cut off on my page. So what we did by agreeing to this, you would be agreeing to these different letters of how we're going to disperse this. So that's really important for the board to know. Payroll will issue based on what these parameters are. So the D one it means that an employee must be employed with us on December 1st. And so if they had resigned prior to that, even if they had gotten those hours, they would not get the payment in December.
So possibly, I see it as possibly an incentive to keep our subs through the end of the year as
Yeah.
one additional benefit.
Yeah, it could work that way. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Becchio.
Any additional comments, board members? Hearing none, I ditto that. Again, the work that's going on and all the teamwork that it took to get us to this point. May I have a motion? I'll take it two-part as well. Motion to approve a unilateral one-time off-schedule 1,000 bonus payment to all regular classified, certificated, non-management, confidential, non-represented hourly and substitutes.
I so move.
I second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 All right, second part, motion to approve a unilateral one-time off-schedule $1,000 bonus payment to management. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Escobedo, second.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
Recuse myself.
okay, thank you. Motion passes. There you go. So turn it back to superintendent.
I want to thank the board for providing us exciting challenges to keep our budget solvent and not have our district go into a position where we won't be able to meet our bills, and at the same time make sure that we have and take care of our employees as they take care of our students. So thank you, board members, and of course a special thanks to my cabinet, Ms. Hernandez and Dr. Becchio and Mr. Spence for helping us put this together. And I will be remiss if I didn't also say we did work with attorney Greg Dennis, who is online on Zoom, and I want to thank him also for his support and experience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So with that, we are adjourning to our next meeting, June 13th, 2023. Thank you. Thank you, board members.